Welcome to episode 7 of Wine with HR. If you were with us for our last episode, we shared a Gallup survey that talked about 1 in 4 employees say that they received recognition for doing a good job last week. Which, okay, 1 in 4, not too bad, right? They then said, though, if employers could double that number, so 2 out of 4 employees, that's all we're talking about here, then employers could see a 9% improvement in productivity, a 22% decrease in safety incidents, and a 22% decrease in absenteeism. They then framed that in dollar amounts, which are super impressive. And again, you have to imagine these are large employers, but you can imagine how those percentages would work for your business. 91, I'm just going to go almost 92 million in gained productivity. 2.8, so almost 3 million due to decreased injuries, and 3.8, so again, almost 4 million due to fewer unscheduled absences. Not a surprise then that in the middle of the episode, Julie and I were like, wow, wait a minute. We need to devote an entire episode to these programs. So that's where we are today.
Yeah, so it's all about recognition today, and in recognition of Sam Snead and Dr. Dre, I think you better recognize.
Oh, no,
No,
never
no
mind.
whoops,
Don't
no
do that.
whoops.
No whoops. No,
Oh, save Trisha from herself.
truth.
Anyway, recognition programs are designed to acknowledge and reward your employees, of course, for their achievements and contributions. And they can be a huge motivator, a way to boost morale. And of course, our favorite benefit, they can be a great retention tool. But before we get into all of that, we need to recognize the wine that we are drinking today. So, Trish, what's in your glass?
Oh, Julie, I've been waiting to talk to you about this since Friday. I actually went to Grand Rapids and went back to one of my favorite wine stores that I used to go to when I lived there. And it's called the Crush Grape, and totally got some help. Of course, you're going to laugh. When I walked in, I told them that I wanted an Italian wine and that I wanted it to be limey. And he was like, limey? And I said, well, yeah, like, okay, you know where I was trying to go, right? I was trying to follow your lead and pick what? That
Limestone.
lime. Yes,
Limestone.
yes, that's where I thought I was going. And he started talking and then using the same words like you were using. And I was like, oh yeah, that's where I was trying to go. Thank goodness, again, someone saved me from myself. So he got me this one, and thank goodness I just looked up what it is. So I will show you, because I was trying to put it all as one word. It's actually 2 separate words. It's Baglio Oro. The type of wine is it Grillo? Is that Grillo? Is it Grillo?
Hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Rio.
Bag-
From Sicilia.
Yes.
Sicily.
So he actually is doing a whole feature this summer on Mediterranean beach wines. So yes, please. I was so excited. I even got one of his t-shirts that says like Mediterranean beach wines. It's just super cute. But in this one, I was looking up some of the descriptions, and here's what they say. Light straw color, which as you can see, we definitely have. Nose of grapefruit, orange blossom, sea stone, which I thought was super cool, and thyme. Someone else says, the same one says citrus and Mediterranean herb flavors with saline. Another one says minerally, which is what I was trying to get you to say, because you kept saying you wanted a mineral finish, but that came out to me as limey. So somebody called it minerally, salty, and super fresh. And then another person said medium bodied with pear, yellow fruits, yellow plums, citrus accents. Um, I definitely would agree with the one that was saying the grapefruit and the orange blossom. I do taste a little bit of salt at the tip of my tongue. I've only had the one sip, but I'm super, super excited about it. So I just wanted to let you know I was thinking about you and wanted to follow your lead. And I tried a nice, again, minerally uh, Italian wine.
I definitely want to try the one you're drinking. So I love that we both have our wine with HR glasses as well.
Mhm.
Mine now has lipstick all over it, but what else? It's all good. So I, of course, am also drinking an Italian white. I went to Heinen's, which is a local grocery store here and has a wonderful wine selection. So I chose a Pecorino because I love Pecorino cheese. So I thought that for those of you who have had pecorino cheese, it's peppery. I thought, oh, that should be interesting. So why not? So it's called Spinelli. It's got a pretty label. It's very like pastel-y and sort of like architectural, I guess. And it is a dry white wine from Italy, of course. And it says that it's a white wine that surprises you with every sip. Straw yellow. So we got a theme going on here today. Straw yellow with golden hues, aromas of yellow fruit blend with floral and balsamic notes. Flavorful with good structure and long finish, excellent with all seafood. Pairs wonderfully also with delicate meat dishes and vegetables and with starters. From our family to yours, salut.
Hello.
So upon first couple of sips, it is very, to me, it is a very mild white wine, but it's very nice. It's very good for summer because it's just very light. It is delicate. I think delicate is a very good word for it. I don't taste any pepperiness as I was anticipating, but that's okay because it is a delightful wine. And then the other word, in case you were looking, Trish, the next time you ask, is from the volcanic region.
See, maybe that's why I was thinking about limestone. I mean, I know limestone isn't volcanic, but like, where I grew up, that's what we have. We have limestone quarries everywhere. So, of course.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so far so good. So hey, let's get to the WHINE. So let's talk about recognition. Trish, kick us off.
All right. I am super, super excited. I want to talk to you first about why they're important, how they can benefit your organization, and most of all, really what they mean to your employees. So that's where we're going to go with this episode, just so you can kind of follow along with how we're thinking about this. We're breaking it down into those three things.
Yeah, and we're also going to give you ideas of the different types of recognition you can include, from types that cost you nothing, but maybe some time, to ones in which you can go all out. And the beauty is that you can design your program based on what best fits your culture, your employees, and your budget. So, first, let's get to why recognition programs are important. Trish, why don't you tell us why you think they are important for organizations?
I think one of my favorite reasons, and you guys, we have a bunch of them here, and it's hard to pick because I think all of these are my favorite. But one of the biggest for me is they help with retention, by reducing burnout and low engagement. I don't know how often I have seen, and I think I've shared this on one of the previous episodes, the story about their company was going through a buyout and they weren't feeling valued, they weren't feeling recognized, and then the owner of the company specifically said, "I want that person to be a part of our discussions as we move forward, and to get his thoughts on this because he's been such a valuable asset to the organization over the years. Well, that person that I'm speaking of went from being kind of like, "Ah, this is stupid. I don't understand why we're doing this. They're asking this. I'm afraid. I don't know if this means I'm gonna lose my job. I don't know," to all of a sudden feeling empowered and going, isn't this cool? They want me to be a part of it. And I think that that right there, just that fast, re-engaged that employee from being scared and to thinking about looking for a different job. So while that's a different type of recognition than we're talking about in a lot of these, it's just one more type, and it's one more way to show you how you can really increase your engagement. The programs that we talk about in general, I think that they reduce burnout because they let people know they're important. They let them know that you see them, that they are valued for what they do, that when they put forth that extra effort, or even if it is an extra effort, they just met their goals that they established, that they're being recognized. So they feel like what I'm doing is actually, well, it actually matters, right? And I think that's one of my biggest thing. And when people feel like what they do matters, when they feel like they can see their part of the greater whole, then that increases their engagement. They all of a sudden are more interested. They really do look around for more things to do. And we all just work harder when we've been recognized, right? So I think that's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I think that one pretty much encapsulates everything.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna like flip it a little bit to show the importance by showing what happens when you don't recognize your employees. But I'm gonna save the like hardcore stats for Trish because that's her thing, and I'm not gonna steal her thunder. But I do have a couple quotes and one stat that I'll share. But so this is from a SHRM article, and in it they talk about a study that was done by Canva. I'm sure you're all familiar with Canva. So of course we'll have the link in the show notes. But these were a couple quotes that stuck out to me. So the first one is that new trends in employee recognition encompass a shift towards more personalized, inclusive, and frequent employee recognition and appreciation programs, along with a focus on fostering a strong sense of purpose and belonging within teams. So, all the stuff that we've been talking about in all of our prior episodes, but I think the key that we're going to be focusing on and repeating a lot here is inclusiveness and focused, personalized. So, we'll get to more of that later. The second quote that really jumped out at me was that more than ever, employees expect more than a paycheck and good benefits from their workplace. They want to be recognized for their contributions. And data shows that poor recognition is one of the top reasons that employees are dissatisfied with their employers. That Canva research I mentioned finds that 75% of employees, 75% wished they felt more appreciated.
You know what I find really interesting about that, Jules, is it goes exactly with the data that got us to this discussion in the first place when they were saying that 1 in 4 felt that they had received some sort of an appreciation within the last week. So the
Yeah.
data doesn't lie.
Yeah. And even we can do that math.
Right. Phew. I know, right? All right. I want to share a few more stats with you guys. This one comes from a Forbes article. So according to that Gallup Work Human poll that we were just talking about, 40% of employees reported receiving recognition only a few times a year or less from a manager, supervisor, or other leader. Only 23% of employees said that their organization actually has a system in place to recognize milestones, which is shocking to me. Now, here's the positive news. Like we're going kind of back and forth between the don'ts and the do's and the positives and the negatives. Here is the thing. When programs are done well, employees are 4 times more likely to be engaged. Here we go with that engagement again, which leads to what do we always say? Retention. So there are four, oh my goodness, I'm so excited about that. 4 times more likely to be engaged, and they recommend their organization to friends and family. So if you do have some sort of a referral program, this is one of the greatest ways, because if people don't feel recognized, if they don't feel valued, they are not going to share it. No matter how great you think you are, if you're not doing this, your employees aren't going to participate in that program. Employees are also then 73% less likely to always or very often, those were the quotes that they used, feel burned out. 73% less likely to feel burned out, either always or very often, if they've just had something that in many cases doesn't cost you a dime, maybe cost you some time, as we've been saying.
Nice rhyme there.
Thank you very much.
But bump.
Hey, I may not be able to do the rap thing or, but I can at least do a good rhyme.
So we've talked about why it's so important, but there are benefits to the employer as well. The biggest one being greater retention, which we've mentioned a couple times now. But it can also lead to greater innovation by creating an environment where employees feel valued and motivated to share their ideas. And it can serve as a powerful tool for cultivating a motivated, loyal, and high performing workforce, which directly impacts the company's bottom line and long term success. So we've got a few more stats here. Canva Research, this is that study that's in the SHRM article. Of course, everything will be posted in the show notes. But 94% of employees who feel highly appreciated love their workplace, and 91% love their job. You don't often hear the word love with work. So
No,
that's
not at
that's
all.
pretty that's pretty
It's
huge.
huge.
On the flip side, only 18% of those who feel unappreciated or even neutral report loving their workplace, and just 33% said they love their job. So, companies with cultures of appreciation have greater employee satisfaction. 81% of employees who are very satisfied said their company has fostered a culture of appreciation, compared to just 8% of those who are neutral or dissatisfied. So, again, neutral, meaning they don't have strong feelings one way or the other. those are pretty damning statistics.
I was about to say sobering,
While we're drinking wine, you can say sobering.
which is why I took another drink. Yeah, so there are a lot of benefits. As you can see, Julie and I are huge fans. We really encourage recognition programs, and again, for all levels of or sizes of your organization. There are different levels of in your workplace. There are different types of appreciation you can do. You are a small workforce. Oh no, we can't do that. Yes, you can. I promise you, you can. But before we get into some of the other benefits, we do have to talk about some mistakes that we want you to avoid. One of the biggest ones for me, especially when we're talking about, oh, there's different levels, and so there's different types of appreciation you could do. One of the ones I worry about is inadvertently excluding people, because if you just focus on people who are in leadership roles, or you just focus on those who want to make a leadership position, then you're going to forget about rewarding all of those people that are doing that hard work every day, that aren't really looking for a promotion. You also then are just focusing on people who are in this like little tiny bubble versus the entire totality of your organization. So you end up excluding those who are not either in leadership or looking to be in leadership. And that's the exact opposite of what you want to do, because look at how your organization is designed. You have people who are leaders, and then you have those who are busting their butts every day to help everyone succeed. If you're not rewarding those people for what they're doing, then guess what? Those leaders can't succeed. And if the leaders aren't succeeding, then the departments and the company, you're not succeeding either.
That goes back to one of the examples that you and I both use in our classes, and one of the ones that I love, it's from the book Radical Candor by, I believe it's Kim Scott, but don't quote me on that because I haven't looked at it in a little bit. But that is the one that describes workers as rock stars and superstars. And your superstars tend to be the people who want to climb the ladder and want to be in the leadership positions, and the rock stars are your worker bees. They're the ones who show up every day, churn it out, and go home. And those people need recognition because oftentimes their work is tedious and
Yep.
it's thankless, and it's just, very repetitive. So those people, those rock stars really need your recognition. So I think that's a hugely important point. The other thing, and one of this goes along with that, is one of the other mistakes you have to be careful about is focusing solely on individual accomplishments versus team efforts, particularly when it does involve either leadership or someone who hasn't achieved what they achieved alone, even though they may be claiming to have done so. So let me give you two examples. The first example would be you have a sales team member who is known for either withholding information from everybody else or sabotaging other members of the team to get higher sales. And then that person is awarded the top sales producer or whatever that company calls it. That can really demoralize the rest of the sales team. And also could go against your core values depending what your core values are. So say one of them is integrity, that's a little bit of a conflict. So we gotta be careful there.
Sabotaging people is not in doesn't have anything to do with integrity. What?
Oh, yeah, I know.
Who would have
Hmm.
thought?
And the second example, which more closely relates to what Trisha was just talking about, is a company or an organization recognizing a department head for exceeding targets without acknowledging all of the contributions of the team members that got that leader to those targets. And if you do that, of course, that's going to be demoralizing to the rest of the team because, again, those are your worker bees. They showed up every day, they did the work, and now the leader's getting all the credit for it. So you want to be really careful about that.
Hey, Julie,
Yeah.
I inadvertently excluded a group of people that I meant to talk about when we're talking about exclusions.
Way to own
Our
up.
remote, I know, right? Our remote workers. I love the idea of remote work, and I really preach this to a lot of my classes. If you are a company that is going to offer remote or even a hybrid work environment, your managers need to be trained really well to understand that just because someone isn't directly in front of them doesn't mean that they're not working. And so a lot of times if we're not careful, we can forget about our remote workers because again, they're not right in front of us. They're not there making those visual contributions in front of us, but that doesn't mean they're not making the contributions. You just have to go a little further and look. It's one of the things I think we both preach a lot is making sure that you're fully looking at everybody. If you're going to offer that type of work, you have to have give people the opportunity to succeed. Especially when we look at what we have seen, it's totally going off topic, but I think it's really important is that what we're seeing is that then it's not just about the recognition. The recognition leads to a lack of advancement. It leads to a lack of increase in pay. And so those are all, obviously everything is very related. And so we want to make sure that, your recognition programs are acknowledging that as well. So I really wanted to mention that one before we moved on.
Very important because there is proximity bias and visibility bias that can go with that remote workers because they tend to be forgotten about because they're not
Exactly.
in the person's line of sight. So, yes, cheers to
Yeah.
all the remote workers. We see you.
Cheers, cheers. Uh-oh. I guess I'm gonna have to mute so I can
Yep.
fill.
Yep. All right. I'll take the next one then. We'll give Trisha time to refill her glass. I'm going to talk about another mistake, which is pretty common, is focusing only on revenue producers. So our HR folks out there are going to feel this in their bones because they often get left out because they are seen as an expense or a necessary evil, cue witch cackle. Those evil HR people. But a lot of support staff. So the people in payroll and accounting and accounts payable and accounts receivable and IT. Oh, our poor IT folks. Nobody calls them unless there's a problem and they want it fixed immediately. And remember, your IT people can access everything. So if you're going to be nice to somebody, make it the IT people. Be nice to everybody. Again, don't be a dick. So had to get that in. But again, we want to make sure we're not just focusing on revenue producers. So we want to focus on all of the people who contribute to keeping the organization going. And there are tons of people that are just, I shouldn't say just, that are involved in keeping the wheels moving. And we need to make sure that our recognition programs are focusing on them as well as those people who are more obviously contributing to the bottom line.
I love that so much. Because I always say, oh, people look at us as revenue takers versus revenue makers. And the truth is that that isn't the truth. If you partner with your HR departments, if you treat us like the business partners that we can be, we can show you how our departments can save you tons of money, again, through all the things that Julie and I are always talking about with like, oh, I don't know, retention. Can we just go to that one more time? So I also want to talk about biases. Julie mentioned biases earlier. The one that I really want to talk about, men and women. So women often feel less appreciated than their male counterparts. So from the research, it says that it's about 51% versus 63%. So we don't have a lot of other stats on this, but it's probably safe to assume, like most of the stats that we talk about when we break it down into men versus women, that when you start adding the different demographics to this, different ethnicities, different religions, maybe people with disabilities, that disparity grows even more. So I really, really encourage you to pay attention to your programs, how they're designed. Make sure that there aren't any accidental or inherent biases in them, and make sure that you're really focusing on this idea of what were the expectations, where did they go? And if you're not going to focus on that, how did they contribute? I think one of the other important things to remember is it's not just about the stats and the numbers. And again, I know I am the stat girl. I love talking about them. But I think it's really important to understand that there are people that make contributions every day that are not tangible. You can't quantify them because they're the ones who are there supporting. They're the ones who are there encouraging. They're the ones who are always showing up and encouraging other people to do what they need to do. They're the ones who are supplying, giving things. It kind of goes with what Julie was just saying. And so with those people, you may not have the numbers behind it, but realizing again, as Julie already said, that they need to have that recognition as well. And then I have a quote for you. When employees feel that recognition is reserved for a select few, it can breed resentment and disengagement, which, no surprise here, right, leads to decreased commitment and innovation, which ultimately affects your productivity and even workplace safety. An environment where not everyone feels valued can stifle collaboration and diminish overall morale. I mean, that's
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. This is why it's so important. And the great news is that recognition is pretty easy to do once you make it a habit. So before we get to some of the best practices and then some of the things you can do, I want to say one more thing. I want to piggyback off of what Trisha was saying. And, we talk a lot about how behavior issues are performance issues. We've talked about that on a lot of episodes. Well, behavior issues, I shouldn't say issues, behavior can also be something that you reward and recognize. So, to Trisha's point about those intangibles that people contribute, when you have those people who are like the cheerleaders, who are pleasant all the time, who will stop and do anything to help their fellow coworker or colleague, those people, you can recognize them for that, and you should recognize them for that because that's what you want to encourage, right? So we get the behavior we tolerate, we also get the behavior we encourage. So think about that as well, because there are people who may not have the job that is so obviously contributing. Every job contributes because otherwise, why would you employ that person? But there are people who we may not think about, like they come in and they do the same thing every day, and it's hard to figure out how to recognize them. But that person who shows up with that great attitude every day, who says, "Good morning" to everybody, who pitches in anytime they're asked, again, you want to like not forget about those people because they're really important to the culture. The last thing I want to share is a couple of stats about and avoiding one last mistake, which is ignoring junior and mid-level employees, because again, we tend to focus on the people in leadership. So we want to make sure we're being inclusive. And from that same Canva study, there is a stat that only 43% of those below the director level feel recognized as individuals, while 55% of directors and 74% of vice presidents and above feel appreciated. So again, it's very skewed towards the people in leadership, probably because they're the most well known. But that's why we have to make more of an effort to make sure we're being inclusive.
The people that are in those positions that are paid the most typically, they feel recognized and they feel like they have been thanked. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Things that make you go, hmm.
Exactly.
All right. So now let's get to the stuff you really want to hear about,
The
which
best
are,
practices.
yes, best practices. And then we're going to give you some ideas that you can include in a recognition program. So, Trish, what best practice do you want to start with?
Well, I like the thing that we got from iSolved. Again, link will be in the show notes. Uh, company wide. We want to have recognition that is company wide and open to all employees. Again, like we were just talking about, not just to specific sets of employees. We want to make sure that every single department is engaged in celebrating not just the, of course, team achievements, but as Julie already said before, those individual achievements as well. Now, that is not to say that individual departments can't have their own programs, I love the idea of having individual tailored programs for each department, allowing the leaders to recognize their own team members. Huh, go figure, in ways that are specific to their department, what they need, their goals, and of course, always the company values. But like think about that like power to be able to tailor your program and given that kind of free reign to say, yeah, go ahead. Now here's the parameters because we have to watch out for those warnings that Julie and I just gave you. But empowering your managers to do that, I think would be super, super fun. And speaking of empowering, why not empower employees to do the same so that they can recognize we've all heard of peer recognition programs, right? But I think it's important to talk about those here because when someone does something for you, you want to recognize it. And if you have an opportunity to do that and to give them a shout out, and maybe it's even to earn swag, that's like always one of my favorites. Like, hey, everybody gets an opportunity to earn swag. If you give someone a shout out, you both will be entered into, our monthly drawing or whatever it is. So that goes from the peer level, then takes it up through company wide. So that is one of my favorites. And I think it's important to share. And from what the data says, it's not just me. It's important for employees to hear from their coworkers too. Because it's nice to know that when you do something for someone that they recognize it. It's nice to be valued by everyone, not just leadership, to know that every day you're making a difference even if leadership doesn't see you.
Agreed. I also want to say that one of the things that I liked about iSolved's program is they had a way, I believe they also had a way, if not, it was a different example, but again, it'll all be in the show notes, to give feedback and recognition upwards. So, uh,
I
you
think you're
know,
right. I think it was
yeah,
that article. Yeah.
yeah. And I think that that's really important too, because as I was just talking about, a lot of those like junior or mid-level people don't often get a lot of recognition. So you often have a lot of like mid-level managers who do not get any recognition. And they need it too, because managing other people is hard work. And I'll just give you an example. I recently I got a lovely email from somebody who I had been quote unquote managing. I had stepped in to help one of my clients out with a department that had lost their leader kind of unexpectedly. And the um, one of my first conversations with somebody was a little bit rough because there had been some performance issues that I had been told about. And so that was like my first conversation. Great, right? But I just kind of approached it in the way that we've talked about doing and said, like, hey, I'm going to be with you through this. We're going to figure it out. I have no doubt you can do this. Like, this is just a little blip in the road, et cetera, et cetera. And this person came through it swimmingly. And so I have recently relinquished the reins to to the real supervisor who's going to be there permanently. And this person sent me the nicest note, just thanking me for being with them during a troubling time, a scary time for them, and making it less scary. And you know what? I don't often get that kind of feedback because I'm there in the crisis moments, and then the crisis passes, and that's fine. I'm not, I don't. I know that's the nature of being a consultant, but I gotta tell you, oh, I got a lot of warm fuzzies from that email. Like it was so nice to know that somebody noticed and appreciated the extra effort that I had given because I knew that this was a scary time for this person. So your managers need it too. So for any, employees who are out there listening to us, if you've got a great manager, tell them they're a great manager and tell them why they're a great manager because oftentimes again those mid-level managers in particular do not get a lot of love.
I'm sending you love, Julie.
Oh, thanks.
I
Back at
recognize
ya.
you. And Aw, thanks. I recognize you and all the hard work you put in.
Well, and that takes me to the point that I want to make, which is that recognition has to be meaningful. So we do not want to be passing out participation trophies. Like when we say we want you to be inclusive, we don't mean you have to give recognition to everyone equally. We mean that you need to make it meaningful to the people who deserve the recognition, but also make sure that you are fully looking at everybody who deserves the recognition. So it has to be uh, meaningful, it has to be authentic, it has to be genuine. So when I'm talking about making it meaningful, when possible, you want to align the rewards with the employee's personal or professional goals. So, two things on that. One, it means you have to know what the person's personal goals are. So, going back to 2 episodes ago, I think it was episode 5, you have to have meaningful conversations with your employees about things other than work. So know what they value in life and what that is. So, for example, a lot of times it's really easy to give money or a gift card, and that can be great. But how much better would it be if you gave money and said, you know what? You've talked about planning a trip to Italy. Here's some money to get you there faster.
Yes, please.
Right?
Yes,
Right?
please.
Like it's still money, but it shows that you paid attention and you listened and you know what your employee wants. Now, they may not put it towards that Italy fund, they may spend it on something else, but that's their business. The point is you remembered. So again, we want to make it meaningful to the person. If they have a certain professional goal, maybe they have really wanted to attend this training course, that could be the reward. So you can do it either personal or professional or both. But again, you want to make it meaningful, authentic, and genuine.
That reminds me of that example that Kyler gave us when he said when he started, they put that cereal on his desk. For those of you who have not listened to that episode, go back and check it out. Kyler was with us from Bamboo HR, and he was talking about how great of a job they did at welcoming him on his first day. So that made me super, super excited when you just said that. I would also remind you all, as we're talking about all this, remember that not everybody wants the same types of recognition. I make the joke in probably every class, so maybe it isn't even a joke at this point, but it makes me laugh every time that if you, and I think I've even made that same joke on here, like if you recognized me for something, you could do it in the middle of a meeting and I would stand up and I would take a bow and I would offer to sign autographs, right? But my brother, I'm pretty sure that's not his bag. Like, maybe not anymore. I used to say like he would hide under the desk and turn purple and be like, "Oh my gosh." But he still wants that recognition, right? He wants that attaboy. He wants that kind of personal connection where you go up to him. And so I think it's really important for you to know what it is that will excite your employee, what will make them feel valued, what will really make them feel seen. And so if you pay attention to that, then I think that your recognition is going to go a lot further. Let me see, Jules, what else can we tell? Oh, I know what else we can talk about. Uh Make sure that you are focused and purposeful about which employee behaviors you want to recognize, celebrate, and reinforce. Julie has already mentioned behaviors and how we recognize them as performance issues, as should everyone. But it's one of those things I think that often goes unrewarded. We just say, well, we assume everybody is doing what they are supposed to because that's what we ask them to do. Well, that's great. But if you have someone who goes above and beyond, if they really are showing the values that you say that you have, like integrity or like welcoming new people. If you see someone that goes out of their way to welcome a new employee, to make them feel like they're a part of the team, then recognize them for that, celebrate them, and let them know, hey, this is something that we really value. Because again, what you're doing there is you are spreading it out. Really, you're saying that this isn't just an HR function, this is a function of everybody to make people feel valued and recognized. And when you do that, team, when you do that, employees, like, we recognize that you're doing it, and we appreciate it.
I think that's really important. I also think that frequency is important. So we talked about that a little bit. You know, 1 in 4 people feel that they've been told that they did a good job within the last week. That's not a great number. Again, Trisha went over the stats that even if you just do get 2 people to feel like they were told they did a good job in the last week, your bottom line can increase quite significantly. But a couple other things about frequency. Um, we don't want you to rely just on those annual events. Although those tend to be like really big deals and people like them, they tend to recognize only a few individuals. So again, they're not particularly inclusive. So we want to be careful about that. It's also really important to recognize efforts as soon as possible after they occur. So it doesn't have to be immediately, but employees need to know that their contributions are realized in real time. So this is also why we've talked about how so many companies are getting away from that once a year annual review, because by then people have forgotten what they did in January or February, or the managers have forgotten what they did in January or February. But also, praise doesn't seem as genuine if it's 9 months after the fact. So we want it to be frequent. That Canva study we've mentioned a few times said that among employees who are highly satisfied, nearly 3/4, so 71%, said that they had been recognized at least a few times a month. So again, we're not talking huge numbers. It's not like you have to recognize somebody every day or once a week or anything like that. It's a couple times a month, just saying thank you. We're going to get into the ways that you can recognize people, but we've talked about that before. That's one of the easiest things that you can do is just look somebody in the eyes, be very genuine, and say, thank you for showing up this week the way that you did. You know, that can go a long way. So again, we just want to make sure that we're being frequent, meaningful, purposeful. So those are the main highlights of the best practices, I would say. Trisha, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, just one. Lead by example.
Good one.
Thank you. So you have identified a bunch of values that you want to reward. So lead by example, and not just you as HR, but management, and I would say your employees that you've tapped as management. Remind them, these are the values that we consider important, and so be the change you want to see.
All right, so let's give the people some ideas of what they
Oh
could
yeah.
include.
All right.
So I'm
No,
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna keep talking. Um,
no.
I'm going to start with the one I already said, which is a simple thank you. But I love it the most in the form of a handwritten note that just says, because nobody gets real mail anymore, even in our office mail,
No.
nobody gets real mail anymore. But a handwritten note, and if you don't know how to handwrite because you're younger than us, you never learned cursive, that is fine. Then a printed note, but in actual pen and ink, is really, really nice because it shows you made that extra little bit of effort to take the time to write out a note and, put it in the person's internal mailbox or on their desk or whatever the case may be, or send it to their house if they're a remote employee. How much would that mean to somebody to get real mail that's not a bill or junk mail or, any of those other things? And again, when you're doing that handwritten note, make it meaningful. make it purposeful, make it genuine, make it authentic. But that can go a really long way.
Julie, I have to piggyback off that because this will make you laugh, and you may already know this, I'm not sure. When I left the public world to go into consulting, and it was right about that time, a couple of years later, that I moved. Okay. And so, yeah, I went into consulting, and then two and a half years later, I moved. When I was moving, on my desk, the hardest thing for me, I have like a bulletin board in front of me at all times. And on my bulletin board, I had pinned handwritten notes that I had gotten from that job. Now, I hadn't worked there in 2.5 years, but I still had those handwritten thank you notes that I had gotten from people, either from interviews or from different employees that I worked with. And so I just want to point that out because again, I think what you said is so important. It was 2.5 years later. I didn't even work for that company anymore, and I still had them. So
Yeah, it goes to show how powerful they can be.
exactly,
Yeah, and
exactly.
again, costs you nothing but a few
Nothing.
minutes.
Yep, yep. I see you, right?
Mhm.
And
Yep,
that's exactly what it is. It's an I see you, and I appreciate your efforts.
yep.
And you know what? Even I think actually that reminds me of something. Even if someone didn't completely succeed, but you see them making that effort, you know that they worked their butt off to get to that particular point. Maybe they didn't get their ultimate goal, but why not say thank you? Why not reward them for what they did achieve? It isn't just, oh, well, you didn't meet your goal, so you don't get recognized. No, you also should be recognized, and again, no participation trophies. That is not what we're talking about here. But for someone who genuinely is working really, really hard to get that, they don't make it. I think recognizing their efforts is pretty important.
I love that. And that's your mic drop moment because I think that's really important. Because again, that person may be feeling a sense of failure because they may not have reached whatever the goal was. But to get a note from somebody that they hopefully respect, if you're their manager, hopefully they respect you. If not, there's a bigger problem there. But that says, you know what? I saw how hard you tried and you got 75% of the way there. And all we have to do is focus on this, and we're going to do it together. And the next time, you're going to knock it out of the park. I think that that is very powerful.
One of the other things I do want to warn people, and I'm completely shifting gears right now. Julie and I were talking about encouraging your managers and wanting your managers or your department heads or whomever to have their recognition programs. I think that it is very important to give them a budget. We we don't want someone like, and of course I am completely exaggerating here, but we don't want someone saying, "Here's a Maserati." Well, someone else is going, "Here's a stick of gum." So, like, within reason is what we're talking about. Give them a budget, and also because it first of all puts some controls on what people are going to do, but it also kind of then creates that uniformity. We don't want certain like we talked about earlier, certain departments, because they're considered money makers. If they have like a $500 budget and someone else only has $100 budget, that inequity is really going to show. So make sure that you give them a budget that is appropriate, and then help them to understand that there's a lot of things they can do along with that money. It doesn't have to be purely financial or like gift cards like we were talking about or something like that.
Very good. Sensical points.
Oh, oh no.
I know. Boring. No, just kidding. Very important. There are also platforms and companies that will do a lot of the work for you. And that doesn't make it less meaningful, but they there are companies out there that will like actually interview your employees, find out what they like, and then the manager with their budget could say, "Hey, this month I want to send Julie 2 bottles of Italian wine from the volcanic region because I've been that specific.
Not the limestone region,
No,
right? The
not the
volcanic
limestone,
region.
not the limestone region. And then, like, then I would get that, and that would be super cool, and I would feel really good about that, especially after I drank the wine. So we can walk you through those kinds of programs. We could even help you create one. But those are some of the things that you could do. So again, that makes it really personalized. And if the manager is like, holy crap, I don't have time to figure out what all my employees like, that's where a company like this can come in. And again, Monarch, we could do that for you, where we could help you with those sorts of things and make it more of a personalized reward program, which could be really cool because, again, we said you want to be focused and you want to be personalized and inclusive, and make it meaningful. And what better way to make it meaningful than making it specific to that individual and whatever their likes and needs are?
You know what you just reminded me of? Talking about like individuals and making sure that we're actually rewarding the things that are important. I thought about our peer-to-peer program that we mentioned earlier, and I think it's a really, really good idea to have other people involved in this potentially. You want to make sure that people aren't just submitting names to get points or rewards, because you know what happens? What happens is like, oh, I'll nominate you this month, and then you nominate me this next month, and so then they people see the same names over and over and over again, and that actually has a counter effect to what it is that you were trying to do. So please, please make sure that you have someone, and maybe you, maybe someone else in your department that is, maybe you have a questionnaire, like asking specific information about what it was that they did and how and what the impact was on you personally, maybe on the department, and maybe even on the business. Now, sometimes those impacts can't be seen, at least initially, that high, but maybe having something like that to help with your program to make sure that again it stays meaningful.
Yes, unfortunately, we have to gatekeep a little bit just
Mm, a
because,
little, a
a little
little.
bit, especially if there are tangible prizes involved. We just got to be careful. But yeah, so I think that that's a great idea, but you still want to allow for that peer-to-peer recognition, because, as we said before, w people like to be recognized by their colleagues as well because they work with them day in and day out. So they like to know that their colleagues believe they're doing a good job as well. And on that note, we also want to make sure, again, a good idea is to have some sort of team recognition factor in your recognition program. So you reward the team for meeting specific goals because that's going to encourage collaboration and engagement and potentially innovation. So for big projects, like something that's going to take a year or longer, break it down into smaller things so you can give that recognition more frequently. Remember, we talked about frequency, and again, make it meaningful. But if you can break it down so that they're getting that recognition more frequently as they meet certain benchmarks, then that's going to motivate them to keep going and maybe even finish things ahead of schedule and maybe under budget.
Ahead of schedule, under budget. What?
What is this nonsense we're talking
I
about?
don't know. I mean, it's almost like we're saying that if you make a culture of appreciation the norm, you're gonna end up benefiting all of these little bits of financial output, we'll say, from the company. It's almost like you're gonna like get these huge reap these huge benefits.
Yeah, I know. Shocking.
Truly,
Again,
truly
so
shocking.
so easy.
So, Jules, I know that you have an example that you want to share relating to core values from that Forbes article. Do you want to do that now, or do you want me to talk about something?
I can share it. So they were a little scarce on the details, I will say, but
You
um,
notice that's why I pitched
yeah,
it to you
yeah,
because I was
yeah,
like,
nice.
I'm not sure what to quite do with this one.
Thanks for that. Thanks for
You're
that.
welcome.
Yeah.
I recognize you and your abilities.
Do you see what it's like to have to work with her? Anyway. Okay, so in the Forbes article, they talk very vaguely and ambiguously about this company that did tie the core values to the behaviors that they wanted to recognize. They didn't say what specific core value they were recognizing or awarding, but they did have a program to recognize those employees who lived their core values in an exemplary fashion. So I'm going to say, let's presume that one of your core values is service. And whether that is community service or whether that is service within the organization or whatever it may be, you have an employee who dedicates their life to service. And let's take community service. So maybe they have done amazing things outside of work with a particular local charity, uh, whatever it may be. And so you recognize them for that because they are living your core values. So if one of your core values is community service and you have people who exemplify that, you want to reward them because that's going to encourage other people to do the same thing. And so, with the caveat of what Trisha talked about before, which is that not all people like to be blasted out on social media or on the company newsletter or in front of a huge group of people. So, take that as the caveat. But you do want to, in a way, publish those stories because you want more people to want that recognition. So, again, you just have to be careful about how you do it. But we talk about core values all the time and how you have to tie everything to core values, how core values should be in your performance evaluations, how they should be in your employment decisions. They should also be a huge and critical part of your recognition programs because that is how you define your company. That is what you have said is important to your company. So we need to recognize that then, and we need to find ways to celebrate those people who embody those core values.
And that is your mic drop moment. Boom.
Boom.
I I really appreciate you all being a part of this episode and really thinking about recognition programs. Hopefully, Julie and I turned your minds around a little bit on the ways of thinking that these are expensive and that you can't do it or that it really isn't going to benefit you. Uh, I think you guys all know me with stats, and I think that this is a wonderful opportunity for you to pull some of these stats that we were talking about. Again, all of this information is going to be linked in the show notes. Be a business partner. Go to your C-suite, go to your ownership, whatever it is, and show them these stats and show them the return on investment because that's what they talk about, right? They're numbers. They don't understand the importance of these until we start showing everybody this idea of look at this, look at the engagement, look at the reduction in turnover, look at just in general the fact that they're happy and that we can create the culture that we say that we desire. And so I cannot say enough about these kind of programs, and I hope that you found this episode helpful and now believe in these programs as much as Julie and I do.
Very well said, Trish. I think that was a great point about using the data that we have given everybody to justify um, the starting one of these programs if you don't already have it, or enhancing whatever program you already have, because now you have all this great data to go to the C suite with and be that true business partner, which Trisha and I have talked about. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the next episode. But positioning yourself as HR as a true partner in the business and not just that line item on the budget that costs a lot of money. As I think, Trisha, that's great. The revenue takers versus the revenue makers. This is one way you can show you are a revenue maker. So that's great. So if you need any help with this, we're always here for you. We say that all the time. We've got a special email, WHINE at monarchendeavorsllc.com. It'll be in the show notes. You can also catch us on Patreon or LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, Wine with HR has its own new page now.
Whoop, whoop. Oh, no, I did it again.
You did. Well, but at least I wasn't rapping at the time, so it's okay.
Okay, fair, fair.
We thank you
Speaking
for
of Patreon. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say we thank you for tolerating my attempt at singing or bringing in music references.
I got notifications from Patreon saying that our wine with HR, that our Pride merch is still available. So I just got that notification as we were starting. I was like, oh, what is this? So just a quick reminder to everybody that on our Patreon account, if you want something like our lovely wine glasses, of course you could subscribe, but we also have there's a link in there so that you can buy hats or t-shirts, or are there aprons, Julie? Do I remember you saying aprons?
There are aprons and they're super cute. Yeah, so we have a couple specific Pride items, and all of the proceeds from those will go to the Trevor Project. And that is not just for Pride Month, that's for the rest of the year. And because we should celebrate and support our LGBTQ plus friends and colleagues all year round. So we're just going to do it all year round.
Cheers to Pride.
Cheers to Pride. Yes, cheers to Pride. Now, just FYI, we don't have as many items with our Pride special logo as we do our other logos, because there are restrictions about how many colors you can have in a logo for certain of the items. So we've done what we can with what we have, and if you have suggestions, we welcome them all the time. But again, all the proceeds for the Pride merch go to the Trevor Project, which, if you have been paying attention to the news, just got cut from the funding. The LGBTQ plus hotline, suicide hotline, got cut. The Trevor Project got cut from federal funding. So we want to support them as much as possible, because we love all our people.
Everybody is important. Everybody.
Yes. And love is love.
And love is love. Hear, hear.
All right. With that, thank you so much for joining us for another episode. Please tell your friends and family and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Cheers.
Cheers.